Hello, Coach. Before we jump into today's episode, I've got something that you guys do not want to miss out on. It's called Underdog Hoops University. Is It is now offering a 14-day free trial. That's 2 weeks full of things that you can explore, an entire coaching platform, playbooks, video breakdowns, practice planning, tools, and everything you need to grow your program and sharpen your edge as a coach. If you're serious about coaching and developing athletes, culture, and winning the right way, this is where you need to start. Alright, now let's get into today's episode and unpack the real coaching insights, practice tips, and everything you've come to expect from Underdog Hoops. Let's get into it.
Welcome to Underdog Hoops, presented by great coaches in our basketball community. From the Underdog Hoops studio in Rancho Cucamonga, California, here is your host, Sam Farrar.
How do you approach game preparation and scouting opponents? I know that like lower levels, I I scout very little, but like
Yeah,
I can
I
ask coaches.
yeah, I
So
honestly, being my first year coaching, I don't think we've ever scouted. We just kind of like, okay, we play each team twice, so um, the first time we're kind of learning. Okay, let's see, this is what they run and who's their shooter, which way do they go, and then going into like where we play them again. Okay, this player or hardly any player likes to go left, so let's force them left. That's not their dominant hand. They're going to be uncomfortable there. Let's trap here if we need to. So I think it's the matter of once we get into league, we're able to um, get ready for them the second go round. And then there's some times where if we're going to tournaments, we can kind of see, okay, we might play this team, we might play this team. So that's where kind of like, I guess, scouting and preparation goes is, tournaments like, okay, we can either play this team and do this defense or man or zone or run this on offense. So that's kind of like our, as far as scouting wise, but typically we don't, um, JV level, I really have not yet, scouted.
yeah, I typically don't really scout that much. Um, I usually will ask, hey, the varsity coach, like, hey, do you know what their varsity team runs? Because their freshman team might run the same thing. I know it's not the same for every program, but I do typically know which program runs the same thing, because they have the structure and all that um, to do that. So I typically will ask, or like you said, we'll go to tournaments, and if we're playing a team that's playing after us the next day, then I'll look and
Yeah,
see, hey, I'll stay like for the first half. And then if it's close, then I usually will stay the whole game just to see
right.
what are they going to do at the end of the game. And that's kind of if I'm not busy, which I'm usually during basketball season, I'm usually like focused on that stuff. Um,
Yeah,
and that's kind of how I do scouting. But I sometimes I'll look up on YouTube like, hey, does this person have scout film up or like film up
yeah,
from this year? Because sometimes
yeah,
teams do,
yeah,
and if that's just how I do it sometimes. Like I'll look or I'll ask the coach, hey, do you have like film from this team? So I'll look up on Max Preps and be like, hey, you played them. How do they look? And
yeah,
they'll kind of tell me if I play them. So
yeah. Some of the schools that we play on Max Prep, they don't have anything up, so it's kind of hard for us to
yeah,
watch. So
exactly. You kind of get lucky or you hit or miss on that because it's
yeah,
the lower levels don't
absolutely.
really post it,
Yeah,
but the
yeah,
varsity levels do. So it's like you can kind of gauge it, and just see. Like this year, I had a team that I was able to uh, pull film from YouTube and then I pulled film or pulled their stats, and I
Hmm.
realized that like this kid doesn't play a whole lot, but he scores 25 points a game. So
Right.
whenever he got in the game, I was just like, okay, we're gonna put one person on you, and then the rest of my guys are in a diamond in one. What I call it is a diamond in one.
Yeah.
So just kind of a strategy that I use. I don't really look too hard into it, but it's you got to win the game. Or
Right.
that's kind of my philosophy is like you want to win, but you got to have and you want to prepare as much as you can.
Right.
Um, but that's just kind of how I look at that part of it. Um, so, what are your thoughts on balancing skill development versus team strategy and practice? So, I probably do 50% skill development and 35% or 40% of like strategy. But
Yeah, I
yeah,
would say we spend probably a majority of time try to develop the skills. Team strategy wise, yeah, I would say we're probably even. Like, I would say the day before a game is when we kind of go over our strategy and kind of like, okay, this is the out of bounds play we're going to run, or, just to make sure that they're prepared to, for the next, for the game, that they're not like deer in the headlights and not know what's going on. Um, so we try to prepare them, the day before a game, just to kind of
yeah,
refresh and get them ready.
awesome. So the next few questions are going to be game strategy and kind of adjustments. I'll try to make it quick so we can. But what are some preferred off? What's your preferred offensive system and why?
So we started off the year was kind of like the read and react offense, and the kids weren't really bought into it, and so they would kind of get lost and not know what's going on, and so we kind of started to incorporate different sets and different plays. We call out the plays and kind of let the kids um, almost play, not so much play freely, but know the set plays, and then they'll call them out on for themselves offensively. Um, Defensively, we came to find out that we're more we started to press, and so we did a 2-2-1, and it turned a lot of or I'm sorry, not 2-2-1, 1-2-2, and we scored a lot of points off of that, and so um, that was a lot of our offense came, or majority of the offense came a lot from steals and just easy buckets, and then when you go up, then you kind of turn it off, and then we go back into a 1-3-1 defense, and that was our identity. Was once
Yeah,
we figured out who we were, um, a 1-3-1 kept the kids more active compared to like a 2-3 zone, and so that's where we kind of figured out, okay, this is what I want to do. I want to run a 1-3-1 and press, and then let the kids kind of not so much play freely, but like let them know the set plays, where they need to be, who do they need to screen, and go from there.
yeah. How do you adjust your game plan when you're on the fly and things kind of aren't working?
Um, like you said, like, okay, if we're not being active enough, um, either if it was a man or a defense, okay, let's call timeout, let's regroup, take a breath, and okay, let's see what do we need to do just to get an easy bucket. Like, a lot of the things is like getting them their confidence back up. Just okay, if we see the ball kind of go in two easy layups, okay, their confidence is slowly going to start coming back. Just try to get them open looks just to see if we can get the momentum shift and go our direction.
Okay. Yeah, that's. I mean, it. I think it's important to take a breath. That's why I tell my guys if they're tired or something, like just and it's a full timeout, which we get to sit down and hey, we're gonna get you guys water, or the other guys are gonna get them water, and they can kind of stay engaged with what's going on with us. Um, and I think it really helps. I usually in a timeout sit on their level, so like I'll pull out a chair and I'll sit with them, uh, in front of them, so they can
Hmm.
see me and I can see them, and we just talk about hey, like this is our strategy, this is what we're doing. Um, you know, and a lot of kids will pay attention because you're putting the focus on them at the moment. So
Right.
that and I like that. I kind of did that this year. I didn't really do that in the past years, but I've kind of learned from other coaches or how other coaches have done things, and tried to incorporate it into like my how I'm gonna approach things. Um, the next few questions are going to be about coaching challenges and kind of growth. So, what has been your biggest challenge as a coach, and how have you kind of overcome it?
Um, I think the biggest challenge, like for me, was first year coach. Our first game, we got blown out, not knowing what our identity was and who we were going to be. We kind of went in, kind of following the varsity plan, but like every player is different. And so me and my assistant coach, we talked and like, okay, who are we going to be? And so we, that's where we changed our philosophy defensively. Like, okay, we're an athletic team. Let's, let's do this press. Let's start pressing. And so we adjusted to being, I think that was mostly our big, thing that we needed to figure out was or a challenge was to figure out what our identity was, who were we going to be, and then after that first game and going forward, we figured out okay, we're going to be a team with grit. We're not going to give up. We're going to be in every game, and yeah,
Yeah, I can remember my first game ever as a head coach, and it was not pretty.
yeah,
Um, it honestly, like, well, I mean, you probably know Chino Hills.
yeah,
So Chino Hills, like 4 years ago, this is like my first year as a head coach, and I'm like, I'm playing them in a tournament, and I'm like, I told the guy because I knew the guy that set me up with him first. I was like, come on, man, like you really got to do that.
yeah,
But we ended up losing by like 40,
right,
and we couldn't get it across half court just
yeah,
because they had this little half court. And then I just got all like, "Hey, like, are we even good? Are we?
yeah,
Are we?" And we we ended up doing very well. I think we only went lost 6 games that year,
okay,
so it was amazing. And then now they're seniors, and they turned around the program, so it was kind of nice to see um, now. And then the group guys that I had this year, we really kind of hit that adversity. The same thing, like we lost to um, Rancho Cucamonga High School,
okay,
and and the same thing. It's like okay, like wake up call. Like let's take advantage of the opportunity that we have. So we did, and they did very well this year too, which I'm very pleased with. But that's kind of my first kind of shock into the coaching world, or
yeah,
after being an assistant for a while. It was like, what the heck? Like we lost by
yeah,
40 the first game,
yeah,
and I'm like, there's nothing that I can do about that now, but it's like I look back on it and I think it's just like, hey, that was the kind of learning experience though.
Absolutely. I think for the players and for you as a coach, I think, and that was the same way for me. Like, oh man, we got blown up. I think it was like 30 or 35 points too. It was like, man, like I hope this isn't what the season's going to be. And so you just got to, I guess, adapt to, make your changes there and seeing what team you're going to be.
Yeah. Um, yeah, I agree. That's so hard for me to be like, I wouldn't let it down, or I'd like just I was stuck on that game for a few days, and I was like, no, I gotta let it go, like whatever. Um,
Yeah.
and that's kind of like, okay, we did well that tournament actually, and we won. I think we were second or third place in
Okay.
that tournament, but doesn't matter. I mean, I was happy with my guys. My guys did well.
Yeah.
The next question will be like, how do you kind of stay updated with the latest coaching trends and strategies?
So it's crazy. Just Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. They have everything that like different drills you can do, different sets, different, just different things that you can incorporate. Like, oh, this would work, for my team, or this won't work. Let's try something different, or just adjust something or tweak something that they post. But it's crazy that how many things on social media that there is that can benefit a program or benefit your team that that could be very helpful.
I've probably learned more from social media and what people um, post on like my feed, or
Yeah,
if other people post on like different feeds. Um, then I have kind of my whole like if I didn't have that, I probably would be still not very good and um, still trying to make myself known. But like
yeah,
it's interesting because I find some different things, find some different sets, and I'm like, oh, that'd be kind of cool to do with my team, or this might
right,
not work, but like it it works for someone else. Um,
yeah,
and yeah, it's pretty crazy because it's like, you know, this started as a little thing and now it's a big thing. Um,
yeah.
and
E-
I
Everything is
just
there in the palm of our hands. Like as far as
yeah,
coaching, like you have everything. Like, okay, how do I beat how do I beat this press? Okay, here's boom. You can have all these videos right there, to help you
yeah,
to be successful, and so it's kind of crazy.
yeah. My whole thing is like I want to learn, and once I stop learning, I'm going to be done. But
Yeah,
um, and I don't think that's going to be for a while. I think I'll still kind of coach for. Hopefully, I can make it a little bit of a career, but we'll see.
yeah.
um, what advice would you give to an aspiring coach?
um I would say just be real with your kids. You'd be surprised how many kids would rather have you be upfront with them and be real with them instead of kind of holding back the truth. But you also got to know who your kids are as well. Like, can they take the truth? Can they handle it? Um, so I would just say, just being real with them and knowing who your kids are, and figure out your identity early, and what kind of team you're going to be, what kind of coach you're going to be. You want to be tough, but you also want to be, someone that the kids can respect, um, as throughout the season and going forward after they're done being your player.
Yeah, I agree. That's like one of the most important things that I've kind of one of the more important things that I've learned is you got to build a relationship with them and you got to be there. I work at the school I coach at, which is nice. Um, but like I get that not all the coaches are able to do that. So I'm around my kids all the time. Um, what are some so I'm gonna ask you kind of like rapid fire question. So you can kind of give um your feedback or whatever. So what's your favorite coaching memory or moment?
I would say so. We played a game against. It would be there's two of them. So my first one would be favorite coaching memory would be coaching my daughter's team, and so it was her first year playing. She said, "Dad, I want to play." I said, "Okay, let's do it." And so like I remember me growing up. Okay, we're gonna go on a Saturday, get our shoes picked out. Like just embrace everything.
Yeah.
And so I did that. So I took her to different shoe stores, find whatever what shoe she wanted. I was comfortable for her, and just coaching her and her first year ever playing basketball or and so watching her play really wanted me to coach more. And so I had the opportunity to coach at the school that I'm at, and we got to play against my school that I played high school basketball. And so I said, all right, guys, if we beat this team, I'll treat you guys for a pizza party. And I explained why. Like, okay, this is a school that I went to, and I really wanted them. And so we ended up winning by 1 point, and it was a tight, close game. And so, yeah, so that was probably one. Those are probably my two favorite memories of as far as coaching.
Yeah, you can always motivate kids by giving them food,
Yeah,
which is
absolutely.
hilarious,
Yeah,
but it works.
yeah, it
Um,
works.
yeah, it does. If you could have dinner with any basketball coach, past, present, who would it be and why?
Well, I had said earlier it would be Coach K. So Coach K would probably be the person that I would just listen to all the knowledge, all the years that he's coached, all the great players. And, he went through different generations and how he had to coach, the one and done to the 4 year players to, he had to change his mindset almost every year. So
Mhm.
just to ask him all those questions, like, how did you do this? And, just that would be my person.
Perfect. That's a good answer, and that's a good yeah. Um, what's the best piece of advice you've ever received as a coach? So like you're receiving the advice from a different coach or yeah.
Um, like you said, I would say my former high school coach had told me just to build relationships, just be honest, just be firm, but also be forgiving, I guess you could say, and understanding of the kids. It's a different generation, so just
Exactly.
be honest with them, being real with them is kind of the thing that I learned or was taught.
All right. What is one thing about you that most people don't know?
Um, Girl dad. So I got four girls. So that's the only thing I can think of right off the gate. If you say rapid fire question,
Perfect. That I mean that's awesome. I like that.
yeah,
I like to be able to just it's nice to have conversations with coaches and see their family kind of brought into their coaching and uh it's nice.
yeah, yeah. I would. A lot of the times, my practices were late in the evening, and so some days my wife would work late, and so I would bring the kids to practice, and so they were kind of around, all year with the basketball team. So it was kind of nice to see.
Yeah. All right. I'll end the podcast, but I'll stop the recording real quick.
Okay.
Hello, Coach. Thank you for tuning into today's episode of Underdog Hoops podcast. If you found this information valuable, the conversation, and I know you did, make sure to check out Underdog Hoops University. You can start a 14-day free trial and get access to everything from detailed playbooks to video breakdowns to practice planning tools, whether you're coaching youth, high school, or any other coaching, AAU, whatever. This platform is built for you to grow. If you haven't already, make sure you subscribe, leave a quick review, and share this episode with another coach who's on the grind just like you are. Until next time, we hope that you keep growing and keep leading the underdog way.